I bought this 2001 Chevy Silverado probably about 2 or 3 years ago now, and I only drive it about maybe a couple hundred miles a year. I bought it to plow snow with. Well, I got to thinking a couple days ago that I ought to change the oil, and when I went to do that, I found out that the oil filter was stuck. And so I've tried a lot of different things and not been successful. So right now, what I have is a mauled, beat up oil filter that's not leaking yet, but could at any time. So I'm going to try to deal with that. So the reason I'm making this video is because every place I Googled, I didn't really find an answer to the problem that I've had, that I've tried anyway. I started off with this oil filter wrench right here. This has always worked good for me in the past, but I wasn't the guy that put this filter on, and it didn't work well. It slipped a little bit, so I found a thing on the internet that said something, put some adhesive sided sandpaper or abrasive cloth on there. So I tried that trick and lined it, and it didn't slip anymore, but it just crushed the oil filter can itself. I tried pliers as well. I went down and grabbed the oil filter kind of this way and shook it back and forth this way to try to loosen it a little bit. I got on the filter that way a little bit. Didn't move it either. The last thing I'm going to try is I'm going to drill the bottom of the oil filter and then try sticking a screwdriver through it, see if that'll move it. I might even try this long, it's a construction tool really. Ironworkers use it a lot to set steel with, and it's got a bullpen on the end, so I might jam that through the filter as well and try to turn that. I suspect that even that won't work. This thing seems to be really on there, but I'm going to try it before I go to the last resort, which is going to be basically cutting the bottom off of the oil filter can itself, and then just tearing the skin of the can away, kind of like a barber pole, to where I get to where the only thing left is the top of the can. And then if I have to, I'll make a purpose-built tool, and even though this is upside down from where the tool will be used, there'll be a couple of bolts. These are actually 3/8, and they're a little bit too big, so I'll need to get some 5/16 ones and get them, and then weld it to a piece of steel that connects the two like that, and then take and square this hole up for probably a 1/2-inch drive extension to where I can reach up in there and then just turn it out with that. So I'm hoping it doesn't come to that, but if you're doing a oil filter and it ever gets that bad that you've got to take and basically shred the can and then build a spanner wrench, so to speak, a couple of studs that'll fit the oil filter, and then a piece of steel to connect them, and then whatever breaker bar assembly that you need to do it. So anyway, I'm going to go underneath the truck and drill a hole in the filter to start with, just so I don't have to deal with the oil running down the screwdrivers. So I drilled a hole. You could just take and jab a hole in it, whatever you wanted to, but I'm just trying to keep it clean. So I'm actually going to try taking a drill and just drilling a hole right through the whole can with a bit that's just a few thousandths under size of this screwdriver here. The reason I'm doing that is there's not only do you have metal inside, both sides of the can, you also have some structure inside that's made out of metal too. So to try to fight the way through all of that stuff with a screwdriver, I just thought it might be easier to go ahead and pre-drill the can, so that's what I'm going to do. Well, I got the screwdriver poked through there and pushed pretty hard on the screwdriver to the point that I know that if I pushed any harder I was going to bend it. So I'm giving up on that screwdriver. Maybe I just need a stouter screwdriver. It might have worked. This one's only got about 1/4 of an inch shank on it, so not a lot of tool there. This is an Ironworkers bullpen right here, and I'm going to try it next. I put a piece of tape on there to mark the how far to drive this thing. We're right up next to the oil pan. If you drive it too far, might have a bad accident, so gotta make sure we don't do any damage. And then I might give it a tug on the bullpen. If that doesn't work, then I'll put that thing in there, and I know it'll either shred the can or turn it, one or the other. Well, I took the bullpen and drove it in, and you can see the tape right there. So I got stopped on the other side. You've got to be kind of strategic where you're going to be putting your tools, because you've got to figure out which way you're going to turn this thing. You know, it's righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, so we're going for lefty-loosey right now, and so we're trying to pull this thing that way. So make sure if you're doing this that you think about where you're going to put your hole, and make sure you don't put a hole through an oil pan too. Well, I did win this battle. Quite a struggle, really. I'd say I started off with this tool, put some abrasive cloth in it. Even it didn't work. Tried channel locks, that further crushed the can. Went at it with a screwdriver. It's about a 12-inch screwdriver. Probably wasn't maybe a long enough screwdriver. Maybe a longer one would have worked. But it did start to bend, and I was thinking I was probably going to just ruin the tool. So I do have some construction tools, an Ironworkers bullpen. Again, it's about 12 inches long. I went through the can, marked off with it so that I didn't push it too far, because this can's only maybe 1/4 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch from the oil pan, and I didn't want to ruin that. And even trying to turn it with a bullpen, I couldn't turn it, so I took this, I think it's probably about a 28 or 30 inch positioning bar. The Ironworkers use them quite a bit, and put that in the hole, and you can see that I actually started to shred the can. I shredded it about 1.5 inches before it started to finally turn, and I was able to turn it maybe not quite a 1/4 turn. It was still stuck, so I had to drill a secondary hole and go at it again with another shot, and it finally came out of there. So I didn't have to resort to my last resort, which would have been building a tool like this that would have fit the pins up there in the holes, and then a socket and a breaker bar or something like that to finally break it loose. So, you know, I'd like to blame the guy that maybe he didn't lube this gasket up, or he over tightened it, one or the other. Don't really know, but it's probably been 3 years since that filter has been off the car or off the truck. So anyway, the good news is, looks like I've won.